and welcome back. We're going to do a little bit of Wing Chun today. What I'd like to work on a little bit is developing explosiveness in your movements. Now there's a lot of places that we can start from to build up to this. We're going to mainly focus in on what we're doing with our leg work to build up through that explosive space. All right. So we're going to loosen up a little bit. We're just going to start by getting that waist a little bit relaxed. Going to bring that hand up to the shoulder. And let it cut down to the sides. You're hacking bushes out of your way in front of you. And we'll take this into a fuck sound. Right arm just swinging out to the side. Just getting everything loosened up a little bit. Back. All right. Shake out the legs a little bit. We're not going to stretch out the legs too much today. We're just going to get them warm. All right, so use a little bit more dynamic warm up to get things going today. Okay. We're going to bring our hands up in the air, drop them down. We're going to rise up onto the toes and drop down to the feet. Let it relax, shake it out a little bit. Okay. We're going to do a couple of leg swinging exercises. We're going to start with that leg crossing the center line and opening up to the side. You want to keep your body straight and vertical through the motion. Just loosen up on that hip. You can use your arms out in front of you to balance, or you can hold on to something in front of you to help you stabilize, such as a chair or a table. Just make sure you don't kick it. And we'll switch legs here. Get it all warmed up and loose. Down. And do a couple with the legs swinging forward and back. And switching sides. Good. Shake it out a little bit. All right. Last couple here. We're just going to do a little bit of a side step. One way, a couple steps. Back. All right, let the weight come all the way to the leg. We're going back the other direction. Last one. Okay. So your arms should be warm, legs should be warm, breath should be going a little bit. Okay. So, explosiveness. Building up from the bottom coming out. There's a lot of things that we need to do when we're working on developing our explosiveness, right? One thing is keeping that line straight through the body, and a really clear conduit, really clear connection. And when you move, not extending or leaning forward through the motion. All right, really typical of what we want to do Wing Chun wise is keep the weight about 60% in the back. So there's sort of two ways that you can approach your stance in your practice. One is going to be a back weighted by just a fraction at 60-40, okay? And then the other one is going to be 64-40 back, okay? More traditional way, once again, is the 60 in the back. A little bit more offensive, aggressive sort of variant is 60 coming to the front, okay? So we're going to do a couple of exercises working with sort of more of that standard weight in the back, as well as working with that weight a little bit more up to the front. The first one we're going to do is just basically coming out from your bucket step. We're going to be sitting with that weight 60% on the back. We're going to bring the weight, keep it in the back, step forward, shuffle forward, and throw that punch. So as our hip moves through that space forward, it's almost like it's ushering our elbow forward, and that's going to come through with a punch. All right? I do the other side. Once again, that same idea. Set back 60-40. That foot's going to pick up, and you're just going to spring forward. All right? For this exercise, one goal you want to have is keep the foot flat as much as you can for right now. You know, it's very easy explosiveness-wise to let yourself rock up onto the toe when you're coming forward, all right? But remember, we want to stay balanced through our movement. So we're going to stay back so that I land in my 60 in the back, 40 in the front position, okay? So let's try this a little bit here. Go just down and back a few times. Just a small step forward. You should feel pretty immediately everything lands in its end position. Okay, shake it out a little bit. You really mainly feel that rear leg doing the majority of the work here. The next exercise we're going to take, working through the legs, is going to be from a slightly forward weighted stance. And what we're going to do is, really similarly, we're going to pick up that forward foot first and then go, okay? This time we're going to use the same side hand to throw that punch, all right? So letting that back foot catch up, all right? So the goal here is almost more like a fencing step, right? More of that lunging action through that space. So, weight starting slightly forward, picking up the foot. So that hip is still driving that motion. I'm still keeping that rear foot relatively connected to the ground. last one. Okay, good. This is probably a step that's more similar to what they might do in Jeet Kune Do. Okay, it tends to be a little bit more ankle body, a little bit more following that fencing format. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and do one more here. We're going to start with the weight on the back, all right? And we're going to move ourselves forward through that motion, picking upper foot and going. So it's kind of like we're springing off the rear leg, all right? That's our goal here, is to spring off the rear leg. So we're going to sit back, shoot forward, and if you can, finish with your right weight on the rear leg. So you're ready to go right away, all right? One of the things that makes Wing Chun feel really fast is making those movements efficient. That means that when you get to the end of your movement, your follow through isn't so big that you have to spend a lot of time recollecting your balance, all right? We don't want to be way forward and have to sit up to go forward again, all right? We really want to be able to lunge forward and forward directly following the previous motion. You need to be loose and relaxed when you're looking for explosiveness. And in the Wing Chun practice, as I said, some of it comes from efficiency, all right? And we'll talk about angulation and efficiency of movement in that sense in a moment, okay? So, coming from that back leg, springing forward, but finishing with the weight on the rear. Sort of lunging more forward this time. Load up the back, shoot, shoot, shoot. Load up the back. Loading the back allows you to load that spring power, okay? And now let's do it with the same, or opposite side hand here, all right? Same action, shorter range. So I'm coming from that back leg, okay? Shorter range here. Think of cut the distance. Okay. That's just a variation for you working on that opposite hand. Okay. Kind of depending on what the situation is, you may do one or the other. Okay. So far you've got 3 footwork exercises to play with. First one being weight 60% on that back leg. All right, moving forward like a bucket step. So the whole body is moving with you all at once. All right, the second exercise, weight forward, picking up the foot and essentially falling forward into motion, dragging that rear leg from behind. And then lastly, we've got loading up on that rear leg, springing out, and recollecting. So this last one sort of has elements of that first motion and that second motion, all right? When you're looking at this attribute of the explosiveness of the practice, you're really looking about range and distance, okay? So we want to be moving forward, moving in. Wing Chun is really fairly aggressive as a style, all right? But you don't want to become too bullheaded, all right? You don't want to lean in and just rush straight at your partner, all right? Sometimes that works, sometimes very effective, all right? But if you have someone who understands the subtleties of leaning, right, just that much leaning, right, it can be a big difference in an encounter with someone who understands those principles or those concepts. All right. So sit upright, right, moving forward and through. Okay. Now, one of the benefits of this explosive practice that it'll help you teach yourself to use that third weapon, that leg, as an attack as well. Okay. So let's build on this just a little bit for a couple more minutes here. All right. We're going to start with our weight seated at the back. All right. We're going to bring our foot and 2 hands forward. And we can come with fists, or you can come with taijong, right? Springing and hands pressing, okay? Whichever is the most comfortable for you, all right? Usually if you're more beginner level, I suggest just use fists, all right? But if you're more comfortable with that open hand principle, all right, then we can work on that springing through that whole space, okay? So a little bit. My left foot is kicking, my left hand is forward or on top. All right, my right hand is underneath. All right. Finishing 60-40. Okay. Turning around. All right. Kicking with my right leg now. All right. Kicking. Now, I may never truly kick this high in an encounter, all right? But for training purposes, all right, work on that, work on a higher kick, right? My kick can go low as well. One more time, each direction. All right. Now, something to be aware of about that exercise is my hands flying forward with my leg. That's really what's moving me, okay? That's the force that I'm applying to sort of tug me forward almost. So I close distance partly because my force is dragging me forward, all right? And this is sort of where there's some differentiation between some of those different exercises that we do. This one is more similar to that first exercise we've done, all right? If you want to be a little bit more forward, or you want to push with that rear leg, it's going to change a lot, okay? And you'll feel when you start going to this more 3 weapons at the same time, you're not going to want to be as forward weighted. You're not going to want to be pushing with that back leg as much, because it's sort of requiring that you land somewhere in front of you, all right? Versus landing straight down the line, all right? Straight on your pillow, okay? So you can decide which variant you really like to use. I like to oftentimes be a little bit more advanced forward with my weight, just a hair, all right? That's my personal preference, okay? Now, do I never use the back 60-40? No, I definitely do plenty, okay? You should have the ability to explore each and every variant of these sorts of exercises, okay? The last one you can play with or practice, right, and this is a little bit less explosive, although it may feel fairly explosive in the beginning, so I'm keeping my weight forward on that leg instead of back, all right? And I'm going to bring that foot up to kick, all right? This is going to shoot me forward a little bit more just by having that slight forward action with the body, okay? That's one that you can play with a little bit on your own. 60 in the front, 40 in the back. everything goes, right? But I have to make sure I get that foot back down. This is a good way if you get caught on the foot or swept on the foot, then you're going to end up falling. Okay? But once again, this can be a really forwardly aggressive way to enter into that space. So if someone's not prepared, they're still gauging space, this can be something that can be used to take them off guard a bit. Okay? Keep in mind, even if we're using legs, right, or if we're using arms, we're trying to operate inside what they refer to as the trapping space or trapping zone. Right? So if you're busy trying to think about kicking or throwing long punches, you're kind of missing the real meat of your Wing Chun practice, which is getting into that space that's just before you enter into grappling, okay? Just before it. So play with it a little bit, all right? Very last thing to say tonight is if we want to work on that triangle step, we can do these same exercises working on that triangular step. One thing I think a fair number of Wing Chun practitioners forget when they get into the midst of everything is how to angulate, okay? Because as I said, it can become really easy to become bullheaded and just rush down the line, especially if you have success with that and not move into that space where you're taking advantageous angles, okay? Easy for me to say, not always easy to do in this situation, okay? So, something to keep in mind, all right? Take these exercises, play with them in your triangle step, all right? Take these exercises, play with which one you like, which one you prefer, all right? That's gonna be it for us today. If you have any questions about what I covered today, any comments, or just wanna say hi, go ahead, put that down in the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. And thank you for everybody for your support. Okay. Have a good day.